Hold on, let me just set this up. Hello, everybody. Good morning. And I hope everybody's having the best morning. I'm going to explain a little bit what's going on here. I apologize if things are a little bit rough. This is really the first time I'm doing this, and I've been spending a lot of time, the little bit of free time that I've had, setting up all the infrastructure, and let's just say it's a system, and it's a system that's still in work, still in progress, so forgive me. Thank you everybody for being here, for those of you who are. This is going to be on YouTube and Locals and Twitter to begin. And once I get all the infrastructure sorted out, figure out how we want to brand all of this, which platforms we want to use, then I'll begin rolling out to more platforms. So what I'm going to do is we're going to have this little time to go over a couple of issues and start to do some clarification and open communication on our end, on my end. Things have been quite quiet for the past several months, as I'm sure you know. And likely things are going to heat up a little bit getting into the fall. And of course, that's when I start getting my messages. So, I hope today is the best morning that you have this week, or at the very least, the best morning you have this morning. So, a couple of things I want to start with is the building a system. Yeah, okay, explain that. The Substack that I am running with the assistance of a few other people, we have just released an article, this one penned by me, about the revival, or the Canadian revival will be televised is the name of it. Now, what am I on about? Well, it seems to be myself and several other people, including Tamara and a number of others, will be testifying in a parliamentary commission on the invocation of the Emergency Measures Act. This is something that's apparently required by law. Anytime Canadian government implements martial law, go figure, they have to have this commission. They've appointed a judge to oversee it. He is a Liberal appointee. Does that mean he's going to be sympathetic to the government's case? I don't know, because when was he appointed? That is key because of things that are going on in the Liberal Party behind the scenes. So check that out, bjdichter.substack.com. That'll take you to the address. It's the Honking for Freedom newsletter. And why does this keep happening? They keep interrupting me. So go to Substack, and right now it's free to join will be for quite a while, because it's important to get this information out. So that is going to be the Parliamentary Commission. I want to bring up something, part of the reason that I'm doing this is I'm just getting sick and tired of the knives that have been thrown in my back, Tamara, a number of other people. And what's shocking is where the knives coming from. Where do you think they're coming from? Let me ask you, what do you think? Because I'll tell you where they're coming from. They're coming from the political right. They're coming from the freedom organizations, and I use organizations loosely. We'll get into that later on in other episodes of this stream, various proxy organizations that are set up. But John Gettr, who is working on the book with me, we're 40,000 words into the book, and it'll be ready before Christmas, for sure, maybe even sooner. He sent me this amazing quote. He did one of those things just off the cuff in a text conversation. He sent this off to me. And it reads, "I don't understand why people who won't believe anything in the mainstream media will swallow anything on the internet." And see, that's the tool that the political class, and I don't mean elected officials, by the way, because there's a whole support structure of people who donate to causes and all that sort of stuff. This is the tool that they're using to get people on board and on side are the people who, yeah, the mainstream media is all lies, but then, there's a subsect of people that don't realize that also happens on the internet and on social media. So we need to have our ability to critically think in both spheres. And that's what it addresses. So since the Freedom Convoy had ended, the rumor mill hasn't stopped by certain people within the establishment. We'll say establishment politicians or people who claim not to be establishment, and they are. If you have any questions, by the way, post in the chat. You'll see these regular narratives coming out that will kind of try to discredit people. Why are they doing that? It's very simple, because the political class thinks they're in charge no matter what. Doesn't matter the movement, the number of people that are behind it, the messaging, especially if they don't like the messaging. It's not their typical corporate milquetoast test messaging. They will try to co-opt and steal the movement. This happens regularly. This is not a new phenomenon. And that's what a lot of people have been undergoing. So I just ask that people, when they hear the rumors about any individual person, that they may want to consider what's the source. I think CGP Grey said it best. He said, when I'm getting information about somebody, and it's from somebody who dislikes that person, I might take that with a grain of salt. So I think we're seeing some of that. The book is up to 40,000 words right now. I'm going to be working on these streams just to better enlighten a lot of you in terms of what was going on during and after the Freedom Convoy. And now, by the way, it still continues. It's a completely different dynamic now, but it's the same. It's very similar what's going on. So keep an eye on the Substack, bjdichter.substack.com. And I want to get into a couple of questions that have been said. So part of the reason I'm doing this is I'm getting so many questions in email form, email, Twitter, whatever. And I just can't keep up with the volume, especially since the Substack we just launched. So I figured this might be the best avenue to answer some of the questions. So if you do have any questions, let me know, and I'll be sure to answer them. The ones that are kind of broad-reaching, that a number of people have, a multitude of people have, I will definitely do my best to address them. So the first question comes from someone by the name of Marilyn. Marilyn says, I'm going to read exactly what she wrote. Just wondering if you can help me determine the whereabouts of the donation I sent to GiveSendGo to the truckers. The unfortunate date was when the Canadian government took the donations out of the bank accounts. I have a long email string with GiveSendGo, and she just goes on to explain that. But you get the general sense. What happened to Marilyn's donation? So I'm going to be I've explained this numerous times on numerous shows and podcasts and radio shows, but I'm going to just do it here again so everybody understands. And I'm not faulting Marilyn, because there's information coming from all over the place, and she just wants to know. So the donations that went to GiveSendGo and GoFundMe that made it through to the convoy, and there is a significant amount of money that did, that is now being held in escrow. And that's being held in escrow pending a legal challenge. That's completely political. It's a completely political tool, in my opinion. And that will be held until the outcome of whatever trial or hearings or mediation that results from it. And that's when you're going to see the result of it. So unfortunately for now, either your money was returned, because a lot of people have had their money returned. And if not, then it's in escrow. And as for people who made donation, the problem is, this is the problem with deleting and a lack of transparency, like with GiveSendGo. Once they've deleted the the drive, and they've deleted all financial records, so we have no idea. Like, I don't know whose money made it and whose didn't and whatever. I mean, I don't even have anything to do with the money for the corp that was set up. Like, I haven't any clue. So if you donated to GoFundMe, for example, and you didn't receive your donation back, I might call GoFundMe, send them a little email saying, I'd like to have an audit of, what happened to my money and where did it go. That might be worthwhile. So yeah, anything, from what I understand, anything that wasn't returned is in escrow. So let's see what happens at the in this hearing, trial, whatever happens, assuming that a scheduling judge just doesn't punt it aside and say this is complete nonsense, which is a possibility as well. Yeah, if we lived in a functioning democracy, that probably would happen. But anyways, to do reflections on, somebody sent me a comment asking me to share this this video from Jordan Peterson. It's called Reflections on the Sorry State of Canada. It's very Jordan Peterson-esque and just kind of lays out where we are in terms of Canada and our governance and all that sort of stuff. It's a great video. Take a look, and can you continue to help Jordan? And just a little side thing on that. I spoke to Jordan for 20 minutes, half hour or so on the weekend, and I'm going to talk more about Jordan in maybe the next stream or sometime down the line. But yeah, I think it's an important lesson, and to follow a lot of his commentary on what's going on in Canada, because it's quite on point, I believe. The next question was, and I'm trying not to give out people's names because I don't know who doesn't want their names said or not. But she says, thank you for fighting for our freedom. We can't wait till another big protest to get this power grab globalist puppet out of power. And yeah, so thank you. That is a wonderful comment. The only thing I would suggest, and this is related to something that's been going on, I'm going to comment on this on a follow-up stream. We need to see a little bit of what's going on right now. Things are kind of in flux. The protest is over. It's done. The protest did its job. The protest was covered all over the world by alternative media. Most of the fake news media was frozen out of the protest. Well, our press conferences, for good reason. And I'm glad that they did. You know what they say, give an inch, they'll take a mile. And there's nothing more accurate than that when it refers to the fake news media. So it went global. Our message was heard. Prime Minister Blackface, the most racist person to hold office in Canadian history, is a joke and a laughingstock around the world. Nobody takes him seriously anymore. So I think our work is done in terms of protesting, and that's why these parliamentary hearings, this commission, is so important, because now the government needs to prove its case. They need to show that it was with just cause that they froze people's bank accounts, which, well, we all know that's not the case. So that's going to be an uphill battle for them. I have a feeling I understand what their strategy is going to be, and we are prepared and ready for it. So it's going to be wild. Oh, and the best part, the cherry on the cake, is it's going to be televised live. So there's going to be no ambiguity. I mean, the media will try to spin, doesn't matter. You know, they'll take a picture of a blue sky and say the sky is purple. Right? It's just what the media does. The fake news media, that is. But for those of us who are inclined to not, just parrot rhetoric and actually want to hear people in their full context, then that is an opportunity, and these hearings are going to be lovely. They're going to be wonderful. Now, next question. Why does the Western world, especially Canada, hate Russia so much? They must know that Ukraine and the surrounding area is infested with Nazi parasites. It's quite direct. I I mean, I don't hate Russia. I don't hate Russian people. I don't hate Ukrainians. My family descended from, half of my family descended from Ukrainians. Ukrainian, Poland, depending which day of the week it was back then. And that's an important thing to note, that we live in this bubble, that the modern world of nationalized borders have been there for all of time. That's what the fake news media wants us to believe. But until about 100 years ago, maybe 150 years ago, the world was dominated by empires. This whole idea of borders that are rigorously adhered to by any sort of global governments or global agreement, that's a new phenomenon. That's why I was always taught, Ukraine, Poland, I don't know, we came from one of those places because it was always changing. In terms of why the world hates, because Putin is the boogeyman, and that is not an excuse and advocation for Putin. That's not what I'm saying. It's not. The world is not always binary about good guys and bad guys. Sometimes there's a whole lot of good guys. Sometimes there's a whole lot of bad guys. Sometimes there's only bad guys. Sometimes there are only good guys. Zelensky is a piece of garbage. I don't think much higher of Putin, but I might be wrong. I do know from a lot of people in the West who, the corporate progressives don't understand why anybody would be supporting Putin or Russia. And I think it's just because his rhetoric has been, at least lately, anti-woke. Now, there's other people who will say he's the one fueling it behind the scenes. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm worried about Canada, the Western world, freedom, and that's where my domain is. So I don't really, I've already said too much. Next thing, this is interesting. When talking about Trudeau and the Emergency Measures Act and the Freedom Convoy and cracking down, this comment says, "Don't leave Francois Legault off the hook. He's more than any premier arguably embraced the worst of the mandates, helped create and foster this awful atmosphere of suspicion and cynical government. This is a bad idea," and he just kind of goes on and expands on that. Yes, Francois Legault and Doug Ford as well. Let's not say it's just Trudeau. Doug Ford was his partner in crime there. He was the one who invoked Bill 100 in Ontario, which is all the emergency powers, the state of emergency powers in Ontario permanently. So you're not going to like that if you get a liberal government and they have the powers that Doug Ford gave them. So, yeah, they're just as bad. This is not, liberal versus conservative, left, right, and I'm going to talk more about that in the future. This is a supremely entitled and spoiled political class and the rest of us. So that's it. What do you think about the first day? I'm going to do a little bit more of these. I don't know if I'm going to do it every day. I'm going to try to, because I think a lot of clarity needs to be communicated, and there's a reason that some of us have remained relatively quiet. In my case, I joined a bunch of Bitcoin spaces and have discussed a number of issues since then. But there's a strategy to this. There's a reason for it, and we'll see what comes up. Maybe next time I'll be doing something on Wednesday or something like that. But that's it. I got to go. Thank you, everybody. Bye.